Hello, welcome to the conversation here on News Central Television. This is the program where we bring you up to date with all the political happenings on the African continent. I am Gbenga Aborowa.
And I'm Rita Omodia. On the conversation today, we will be looking at political situations in the DR Congo and South Africa, as Belgian King Philippe has promised to strengthen bilateral relationship between his country and DR Congo, while expressing deepest regrets to Congolese over past wounds. Meanwhile, in South Africa, the president, Cyril Ramaphosa, suspended the country's anti-corruption chief advocate, Busiswe Mkhwebane. Of course, these are two very interesting topics on the political scene around the African continent. And I mean, Gbenga, is an expression of regret not also a form of apology?
It is a form of apology, and they expect, and I'm sure in the course of this conversation we'll get to that, they expect the Belgian government to do more, because looking at Congo's colonial past, the people currently living in Congo still feel some of the repercussions and the impact and the legacy of colonization. But I look forward to that conversation. And South Africa, from Farmgate, it's just one scandal
to another.
Yeah, so it's things are pretty hot down
Definitely.
south.
All right, so let's start with the Belgium story, where Belgium's King Philippe reaffirmed his deepest regrets to the Democratic Republic of Congo for the wounds of the past caused by his country in an address to government officials and parliamentarians on Wednesday when he visited the capital Kinshasa, seeking to write a new chapter in relations with the former colony. King Leopold II, brother to Philippe's great-great-grandfather, oversaw the country's occupation between 1885 and 1908 before it was declared a Belgian colony.
As colonization of the Belgian Congo has been described by historians as one of the harshest European colonizations in Africa in the 19th and 20th centuries, for which King Philippe in 2020 wrote a letter to Congolese President Félix Tshisekedi expressing his deepest regrets for the wounds of the past. The king admitted that over the decades, cooperation between the two countries has had its ups and downs, but the foundations for a new bilateral partnership have been laid. The Central African nation acquired independence from Belgium in 1960. Now, joining us to discuss all of this and more is Pedro Monaville, Assistant Professor of History at the New York University Abu Dhabi campus. Joins us from Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates. We also have Bénédicte Kumbi Ndjoko, historian and spokesperson of Likambo Ya Mabele. She joins from Geneva in Switzerland, plus Berthe, Walo, a socio-economic and political activist, joins it from London. Gentlemen and ladies, welcome to the conversation. We're happy to have you. Thanks for your time. And I would like to start with Bénédicte. Now, how significant is this trip by King Philippe to the Democratic Republic of Congo? His father paid a state visit to Congo, I believe, 10 years ago. How is this trip different?
Well, I think the difference that we have today, I would say, is that Congolese people are more awake, I would say, and even aware of their past. And what is interesting is when you look at the comments Congolese people are making on this visit, you can notice that it is not welcome. When King Philip was driving through Kinshasa, there were passing by people standing along the streets, and they were saying in Lingala, we don't care about this visit because we are dying here. So I think that this is an important thing to notice as per this visit. It might be an important visit for Belgium, but as per the Congolese people, what comes again and again, we don't want to see the great-great-grandson of Leopold II, and we don't have anything to do with him today because we are occupied with something else, which means Rwanda's aggression of Congo. And this is a little bit the mood. And I would say that, yes, this visit is beneficial for Belgium, certainly for the regime in place. But as per the Congolese population, it is not quite significant because it doesn't change their everyday struggle.
All right, Pedro. Now, Benedict has talked about the feelings of the ordinary citizens, and we have more of the satisfaction coming from them. Now, King Philip, in one of his speeches, expressed regret over Belgium's brutal colonial past. In 2002, Belgium formally apologized for its role in the assassination of Patrice Lumumba. How do you see all this panning out?
So, you mentioned the 2002 commission, the Belgian Parliamentary Commission into the, Belgian responsibilities in the assassination of Lumumba. So that was 2002. Which, it was a significant moment 20 years ago. A first step. There were some, some announcements that followed that commission that didn't, that the Belgian authorities, government didn't actually follow through some of the announcements at the time. So there were, a declaration, once again, that was a little bit ambiguous. So, like in this case, regrets, but no apologies. So the acknowledgement in 2002 was also maybe stopped, and it could have been like clearer. So yes, so 20 years, later, it's still like an unfinished process. The physical remains of Patrice Lumumba are still in Belgium. This one piece that should go back to Congo now soon. But that's I think from the perspective of Belgium, there've been steps like that, starting 20 years ago, maybe. The King Declaration 2 years ago, already of regret, but this has been a rather slow process.
But did you expect more from him as far as contrition? Is this how far it could go?
Well, my sense is that so if we are here, if we are where we are today, and maybe this kind of strange statement on the part of the Belgian monarch, so basically saying the same thing he said 2 years ago, which was kind of like a change of discourse and tone on the part of the Belgian monarch. I think his predecessors, his father, uncle, the people who were on the throne before him, certainly didn't actually approach the colonial past as critically as he has. But so this is kind of this slow progression, I think, is maybe connecting to what's happening right now in Belgium, which is another commission, a parliamentary commission of inquiry on the question of the colonial past. So my sense is that maybe at the end of that other commission, there might be maybe something that would be presented as a form of a clear apology. At least I would hope, even though I think, as Benedict mentioned, I think for many people in Congo, this is not the issue. But it can have some value, I think, and it's important that that it should happen. Mm-hmm. It should have happened before, and I think it can have some value within Belgium, and also in terms of the question of racism in Belgian society and anti-Black racism that a lot of people of African ancestry, Congolese ancestry in Belgium are experiencing. Okay. So this critical conversation on the colonial past, I think at least it can it matters in that context.
Thank you, Pedro. I would like to bring in Berthe. Now, Berthe, President Félix Tshisekedi spent a number of years in Belgium. The opposition in Congo has leveled this visit by King Philip as meddling in Congolese domestic politics. To what degree is this a fair point? And what are fillers in Kinshasa and Brussels? Because I do understand that the far-right party in Belgium are not really particularly happy about this visit by the king to the Congo DRC.
The opposition, including the people of DRC, are not happy about this visit. First of all, the country is at war. This war is a proxy war by the West in the Congo to loot our mineral wealth, including Belgium in that war. A couple of days ago, in fact, until now, people are still dying in the eastern part of the Congo. People in Kinshasa are wondering, is that part of the country still ours? How can one part of the country be at war and the other part you are welcoming eminent royals in the country, lavishing millions of our money, while Congolese people today live under $1 per day? So no one, no politicians, no Congolese people are happy about it, and we have all seen it. When the king cover is passing by, the people are saying, we are hungry, we are dying here. Nobody is happy about that visit. I think the two entities that are happy about the visit is Belgium, because as we have seen today, the kind of aircraft that the king is traveling in, a whole king that is sitting in an army aircraft, no seat, sitting like just a normal person, just a normal citizen in an aircraft full of business people. So in that aspect, Belgium is happy to go and pretend to apologize, because those regrets also means apologies, but not formally. And the other side, the Congolese regime, the current regime, is happy because the regime, which is so disputed, is now condemned internationally by the country that colonized Congo. In that aspect, the governing party right now is happy, is pleased to have the king in the country, but I can tell you by all means, the majority of Congolese people are against that visit. They are not happy. Those who went there to go and stand by the roadside to applaud have been paid. Even though they've been paid, they've been full of criticism. That's, that's what I can say.
All right, just hold on that thought, because looking at this this figure that has been presented there, we know that there was a wooden mask that was presented. Benedict, can you tell us more about this presentation that happened while the King Philippe visited DR Congo? Okay. I mean, this mask definitely has some significance for the DR Congo, because we saw a lot of people talking about this.
It was stolen. It was looted during the Belgian occupation of the Congo, and a Belgian collector bought it many years ago. So as a token of appreciation, the president, the king, I beg your pardon, returned it. One of several hundred artifacts that were looted during the colonial occupation. I can imagine
the feelings of the people
of
DR Congo when they saw this wooden mask presented, and it talks about a lot of things that were actually stolen from African countries by the so-called colonial masters at this point in time. And, you know, Bénédicte and Berthe, we're actually talking about the fact that people were really dissatisfied with what was happening, especially with the symbol of regret coming from King Philippe.
It's nice that Berthe did mention that those, because if you could see the king's motorcade driving through Kinshasa on his arrival, you see people waving flags, that they were rented crowd, and the general sentiment in the DRC is that they're not really happy to see the king there.
I wonder what exactly was the main purpose, because she also talked about financial gains for Belgium. I don't know if we still have Berthe and Bénédicte with us. Can you hear us, Bénédicte?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Yes, okay, I can hear you. All right, so we're talking about the significance of this wooden mask presented by King Philippe to the DR Congo.
What I wanted just to correct is that this mask, of course, it was stolen, as it was said, was not given back to Congo. It is lent to Congo, meaning that they are not giving it back to Congo, which is quite interesting also. Because, if you want to show a benevolent behavior towards that country, maybe it would be interesting really to just keep what you stole. But this is not the case. This is land. And so, and this is what makes me think really that we are here in demonstration, of course, of, I would say, a public demonstration of a will to change things, but at the same time, there are certain behaviors that are still there, that are still talking, colonialism. And I think that we should be really careful with that. And I would like also to go back to something before, as per the regrets you were talking about. We have to remember that those regrets were first expressed after we had all those demonstrations all around the world after George Floyd died.
Yeah.
So, and we had all those statues that were toppled down, and then Belgium felt the need maybe to address its colonial past. It was not a move that was coming really deeply from that kingdom, saying that they wanted to change things and that they were expressing regrets. And as per the regrets, sometimes I even think about it maybe even in a philosophical way, because when we think about regrets, it also addresses the question of helplessness. And if you are helpless in a situation, there is no will of action there. And this is what we have here. And that helplessness is also a choice. Because if you think about maybe having remorse or something like that, then maybe you'll act in order to change things, in order to redeem yourself of what you have done. But when you express regret, there is nothing there. And I think that it is also interesting that those regrets concern especially the Leopoldian state in Congo, but it doesn't address Belgium and its politics after the end of Leopold II in Belgium. And these are all, I think, questions that we should reflect on in order really to try to assess what is made here. And I wanted also to make a remark, because when the German government recognized that they had committed genocide in Malawi against the Herero people and Namibia, when they recognized that, the question in Belgium was if this was a dangerous precedent. So, and they were all afraid that Congo would also put on the table the question of genocide. So all those regrets that are coming, and I think the willingness to really make people think just about that Leopoldian period, it's also for me not to address the politics of Belgium after Congo was handed out to the Belgian state, and the politics they pursue after the independence, and they are pursuing until today, which is a neo-colonial type of relation they have.
Thank you, Benedict. I'd like to bring in Pedro here and pick up from where Benedict left off. She did mention the president of Germany paying reparations to the Herero and Nemo people in Namibia. Now, before the Declaration of Independence from Belgium in 1960, the Democratic Republic of Congo was Africa's richest colony, producing about 70% of the world's industrial diamond. Most of the profits, however, went to Belgium. Human Rights Watch has suggested that financial reparations be paid by Belgium to the Democratic Republic of Congo. You can't even begin to talk about the atrocities that were committed under King Leopold and under Belgian colonial rule. My question to you is this: since a president has been set, not just the German and Herero president, other countries too, if you look around the world, are these claims for reparations legitimate, looking at the history of Belgium in the Democratic Republic of Congo? Pedro.
I think there certainly are. I mean, the question of reparation is a legitimate question, I'm not sure, what are the immediate prospects with regard to that. I mean, obviously, there was the mention of this mask being returned, not being given back, or but being like landed like with an indefinite term. One of the reasons why is because there are some kind of like legal restrictions, and there is no willingness to go beyond that. So I think just if we want to kind of go back to the 1950s and 1960s and the time of decolonization. Decolonization is a radical process, or and a revolutionary process. We can think about the writing of Fanon and others, and including Lumumba as well. So I think that what we're seeing now, with this a language of regret, with this restitution that are not fully restitution of artworks and others. I think we're kind of seeing some of the limitations of these kind of decolonization light maybe. On the question of reparation, while it's legitimate, clearly I think there's not much desire on the Belgian part to go there, and given also like the political landscape in Belgium, including like very strong right-wing parties in in Flanders, but including like also in the French-speaking part of Belgium. I think these parties were very like racist, anti-migrants, etc. I think they will not be willing to kind of engage with the question of reparations. And also something that I see that's maybe also missing today is also some signs from the Congolese authorities, the Congolese government, that this is something that they could actually try to engage Belgium with. So the President Tshisekedi was very measured in the speech that he gave just a couple of days ago, talking about the past as something that's past, and that we should kind of we shouldn't turn that page and look towards the future. So he may not be in a position to try to engage Belgium on the question of reparation. So I think it's a question that's going to be with us for some time.
Pedro, while I was looking at the past and reparations, I'd like to hear from Walo. Now, there is a parliamentary commission in the Belgian parliament that is looking into its colonial past. What are your expectations from this commission?
The Congolese government responsibility. I had wanted to touch on that because the Belgians have had this attitude toward Congolese of supremacy all along, because as we all know, they've had the most brutal regime in colonial regime in Africa, and they have remained considering Congolese in such way. So the Congolese in the other side feel like for them to exist in the international realm, they need to be endorsed by Belgium. So they do not dare to go forward and reclaim or demand such things. And therefore, coming from Belgium, they give what they want or they give what they can. That is why we see sometimes apologies here and there, but nothing concrete is being done. Now, going back to the question you have asked me about the parliamentary
commission.
Right, the commission, it's actually still ongoing in Belgium. As far as I know, a couple of weeks, two weeks ago, they were still hearing from Ludo de Witt, who is the historian and the writer, who started the whole Lumumba process by going to find who was the person who was withholding his remains. So they were still listening to the experts. So they have not yet come up with their findings. Although slightly far back, there was a commotion at the parliament where the court wanted to come to get the procès verbal of the Congolese politicians who had come and spoken on the case. But there was a commotion between the guards at the parliament and the ones from the police station or the court. So it's still it's still ongoing.
Okay, thank you, Beth. So thank you for that, Beth. Just before we wrap things up on this conversation, I would like to, and it won't do justice to this, if we don't talk about the memory and the person of the late Patrice Lumumba. It is said that his tooth will be returned to Belgium, to DRC at some point. My question is directed to Bénédicte. How significant is this, and are those how far has Belgium gone in apologizing for its role in the murder and assassination of Patrice Lumumba, the first Prime Minister of the Republic of Congo?
First of all, I would like to say that this is a battle that the Congolese actually fought, and it was, I think, under also their pressure that we got that. And of course, also the fact that the remains are coming back to Congo very much serves the current regime, like the visit of the king served the current regime that has a legitimacy problem internally. And so bringing back also that oath will also, what Mr. Tshisekedi tries to do is also to forward his image. But otherwise, it's of course good to have those remains back in the Congo. But I would like to say that we need really not to forget that this was a crime that was committed against an elected Prime Minister of the Congo. And until now, even though there were commissions, even though regrets were expressed, I think that we need to have today a trial. We need to have the full truth, and I think that Belgium needs to be judged for that, like the United States also that participated in that assassination. We have, yes, but it's the United States. So we need here really to think about that as a crime, and I think that all those regrets, all those commissions try to erase that fact, and it will be good for Congo, of course, but it will be also good for Africa, because so many African leaders were assassinated on that continent because of their fight for freedom. And we need to have such example, and Belgium and the United States should really be brought to justice in order for this matter to be solved, and to let Congolese really mourn Patrice Lumumba, and also remember what he stood for. Of course, we don't know what he would have done had he been alive, but still he left a legacy, and we need to look into that legacy, because until now, when you look at scholars, Western scholars in particular, talking about Patrice Lumumba, there is something deeply disturbing there, because this is a man that is trashed even after his death, because he embodied something for Africa and for Congo in particular.
Thank you so much, Bénédicte, and of course for sharing so much light on this conversation. Also, we'd like to thank Pedro Monaville, Assistant Professor of History, New York University, who joined us from Abu Dhabi. Thank you for joining us on the conversation. And Berthe Walo, thank you for joining us on the conversation.
Thank you.
And right now, we'll take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll be delving into situations in South Africa. Stay tuned.